favorite part, Mike? I had such a good time last night. I went home so wound up I couldn't sleep. And I got maybe 1 or 2 hours, and I woke up at 5 o'clock, and I changed my whole homily. So here goes. One of the things I thought I would do, you know how you watch programs like, I know you all watch these, the Ellen DeGeneres show, and the Marilyn Dennis show, and Oprah, and all those shows. And what they do is in the commercial breaks, they tell you what's coming up. And they'll say, tune in on Tuesday because Elton John's going to be here singing his latest hit, and everyone in the audience is going to get the CD. Oh, and everybody's just all excited. And everybody wants to be on Ellen's show, the 12 Days of Christmas. Have you seen what those people get? Every day she gives away tons of stuff. And Marilyn Dennis was doing it the other day. So I thought I'd do a little advertising and let you know what's coming up. You'll want to be here on the 22nd because that's the fourth Sunday of Advent, and we're going to be talking about Joseph and his important part in the whole nativity story. So we're going to be talking to you about what does he symbolize and what does he mean in our life. That's on the 22nd. And then on the 24th, at 7 and at the later service at 10:30, we're going to be talking about gifts, because gifts are so important in the nativity story, and it's only Matthew that talks about them. Luke doesn't talk about the wise men and the gifts, so I want to talk about the gift that we receive at Christmas, all about that. And then on the 29th, the last Sunday, you'll want to be there for that one, because that's sort of like the end of the year, and we're looking forward to the new year. And Lucy was showing me something she got on the internet, and it's about a nurse who'd been nursing for, I think it was over 30 years. And I'm going to get this probably not right on, but what she was saying was, in all of the times that she'd spent with people in the hospital, especially when they're dying, they told her about things that they wished they hadn't done, things that maybe they regretted. And she gave the 5 ones that she most heard. So on the 22nd, or 29th, you want to be here to hear that. And everyone in the congregation is going to receive a free and special blessing. So tune in and don't forget that. That doesn't hurt to advertise. Every now and again, someone comes along who's destined for greatness. And they're very, very special people, and they don't come along every day. And they are God-sent. That's really the best way to put it. They're God-sends to us in the world. And they're men and women of great stature, and they do incredible things in the world. And there's many of them, and it's kind of a double-edged sword to be chosen, because it really is to be chosen. Because although it's great to be doing the things that you do, these people know that their lives are not their own. They don't live lives like you and I do. They live lives for others. And it's a very, very difficult road. But they're great, great people. The two I'm going to talk about today are John the Baptist and Nelson Mandela. And I'm going to talk about them because they're so close. When you compare their 2 lives, they're very, very similar. Now, before I do that, we're really glad you came today, because I'm often asked, what is Christianity all about? What is it that I'm supposed to know in my life? What are the things that I really need to know? I mean, you talk about a lot of stuff in the Bible, but what are the most important things? I'm going to give you the top 5. These are great. You may want to write these down. I'm going to do it in my order. You can do it in whatever order you want. But before you leave the world, you need to take these 5 things very seriously. Number 1, practice unconditional love every day. And all of you who are parents will know what that is. You'll know you always love your children, but there are days you don't like them. But you will love them unconditionally, and it is training for the world, because you take that unconditional love to share with others in the world. And so, unconditional love, number 1. Number 2, reconciliation. I can't tell you how important that is. It's almost number 1. It's in my mind. It may be number 1 in your list. You do not want to leave this world with things that you've held back on. Maybe problems you've had within yourself or problems with other people. Settle them before you leave this world. It is so, so important, reconciliation. If there's anyone in your life that you want to say something to, make sure you do it. Make sure you do it. So we have unconditional love, reconciliation. The third one, we have a tough time with this one. Your ego. Our egos are wonderful things. They protect us. They tell us that we're wonderful, we're great. And it's not good for us because it's kind of a false security. Because when we feel insecure, we want our ego to come and say, "Oh, you're great. Don't worry about it. You're just fantastic. Keep on doing what you're doing." It has to be set aside. And great people in the world set it aside. And so, to your ego. Fourth is suffer the little children. I hope that any of you that go by a lemonade stand stop and buy the lemonade. And if it's 25 cents, give them a loonie or a toonie and tell them to keep the change and tell them this is the greatest lemonade I've ever tasted. Have you seen the ad on TV? The two gals? Oh, I love that. I don't know what the car is, but they're sitting there with 25 cents for their lemonade. They see this expensive car come down the street and they flip it over. It's $1. These guys can afford it. And they look at each other and smile. Wonderful. Make sure that you're kind to children. That's so, so important. And Jesus said it, suffer the little children to come unto me. If you can do something good for a child in your life, you've learned a good lesson. The last one is we need to do things for the people who are poor, hungry, destitute, disenfranchised. That's part of our mission. People who need help, that's what we're here to do. And I think that St. Jude's has been very good about that. Our mission committee keeps us aware of all of the things. They do a great job at that. They are really very good at all of that, and I really, really encourage you to do whatever you can for anyone who needs help. So, unconditional love. I forgot the second one. Reconciliation. God, you're listening. Ego. That's my ego. Ego. Suffer the children and help those who need you. Now, John the Baptist, he was about the fifth one. He was all about that. John the Baptist gave his life, literally, to help those who needed help. And he called people to the River Jordan, and he gave his life over to that mission. He didn't live like you and I. There's no way he could have been married. Can you imagine John the Baptist married, coming home after a long day of baptism in the house? How was your day, dear? Oh, God. Your feet are all dirty. Wash them before you come in. They're all got muck on them. Yeah, but I've had a hard day. Yeah, you've had a hard day. I've been cooking and cleaning all day. He couldn't have had a wife. There's no way. Not that she would have been bad, but he didn't have time for that. He gave his life to the mission of bringing in the gospel. He was preparing the way for Jesus, and he did everything to do that. And he told the people when they came out, you need to be repentant, turn your lives around, and consider the people around you who need you. And he really gave it to the priests. When they showed up, he said, who warned you, you brood of vipers? He was terrible with them because they weren't doing their job, and he was the same with the king, who he felt was living an immoral life, and he got thrown into prison and was executed there. And so he gave his life over for that. And that's why we admire him. That's why we hold him up, and especially in Advent, because he announced the coming of Christ. Nelson Mandela is very, very similar. He was a man who had great convictions. He grew up in a very, very small village in Africa. I can be assured it was very, very small. And he eventually got himself an education, and he became a lawyer. And then that's when he became very socially conscious. And he was very upset about apartheid. And he fought for that. And he fought so hard that he disturbed the leaders of the nation, and he was thrown in jail for 27 years. And in jail, you can just imagine him being like John, who was sitting in his cell, John the Baptist, and wondering, why am I here? What have I done? Have I done what I should have done? He hears about Jesus out there, but he's not quite sure. Nelson was the same way. So he was being encouraged by the people who came to see him, and then he told them to go out and keep the faith. And I think he believed and knew that he was going to get out, and he did. He was luckier than John. Now I want to go through just a little bit of John the Baptist because I love that passage in Matthew 11. This is one that I really like, and I like it for a number of reasons. When the disciples of John the Baptist came to him and said, "Are you the one that is to come, or we expect another one?" John wants to know. What did he say? He said, "Go back and tell them what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the leopards are cleansed, the poor have good news preached to them, and blessed is anyone who does not take offense at me." Now Jesus could have said that much differently, because we know that not all the blind were seeing. We know that not all the deaf were hearing, and that the lame were walking. We know that. We know that some of the poor people didn't hear the good news. But he chose to say to him, "You go back and tell them that it's begun. It has started. And what you did was a great thing because you prepared the people for my message. Not all people have heard, but they are starting." And that's the key here. Because when they left to go back to tell John that, he turned to the crowd. And he said, "With what will I compare this generation? Will you be like children? Will we be like children who play the flute in the marketplace and you don't sing? We are mourning and you don't cry with us. Are you going to be that kind of generation? Because, you went out to see a pretty big prophet. He was a pretty important guy. In fact, he was the last prophet. And as big as he was, he is not as great as the least in the kingdom of God." What did he mean? How could he not be greater than anybody in the kingdom of God? Why he said that was that poor John was not going to be able to see the full of the kingdom unfold. He was executed. He didn't get to see it. So the people who heard and saw and leaped for joy, they saw it. And they carried it on. And John didn't quite see all of that. And you know who those people are that hear and sing and dance and are see? It's you. It's you people. You're in the kingdom. And you're greater than John the Baptist. Because you're here to fulfill the kingdom. I hope that Nelson Mandela died feeling content and fulfilled in his heart about what he did for this world. Because great people, they don't just influence the people around them, they influence the world. And there's absolutely no way that you can say that he did not do that. And he was all about apartheid. He knew that was unjust. And even though in prison, he was there. And I know these people, you can talk about them all, the Mother Teresa's and the Martin Luther King's, the Dalai Lama. They all know in their heart what they need to do. And if you can remember those 5 things, you can too. You're just as great as all of those people. You may not rise to the greatness that they did, but you can follow their examples. And I want you to take that away at Advent 3 as we celebrate the lives of those great men, John the Baptist and Nelson Mandela. Let us pray.